Over the years, there have been a lot of great college football games played, which meant that the number 1 versus the number 2 team many times was playing, and the winner would win the national championship. Let me name just a few great ones here for you. USC over UCLA 21-20 in 1967. Texas over Arkansas 15-14 in 1969. Notre Dame over Alabama 24-23 in the Sugar Bowl in 1973. USC 18, Ohio State 17 in the Rose Bowl in 1975. Miami 31, Nebraska 30 in the 1984 Orange Bowl. Miami 26, Florida State 25 in 1987. Notre Dame 31, Miami 30 in 1988. Florida State 18, Nebraska 16 in the 1994 Orange Bowl. Ohio State 31, Miami 24 in the 2002 BCS National Championship game. And Texas 41, USC 38 in the 2005 BCS National Title game. Many of those games matched the number 1 team versus the number 2 team going in. Another of those great number 1 versus number 2 matchups occurred on Thanksgiving Day in 1971. Number 1 Nebraska, gunning for their 2nd straight national title, faced the number 2 high-powered Oklahoma Sooners. At stake, number 1 in the polls, the Big 8 Conference title, and a trip to play for the national championship in the Orange Bowl, January 1st, 1972. Many historians still consider this Thanksgiving Day game to be the greatest college football game ever played. Dinner plans around the nation changed that day so many people could watch this game of the century, as it's been called. It truly lived up to its billing. Here to discuss it are 2 men who played a big part in the game, Nebraska quarterback Jerry Tagge and Nebraska all-purpose player and future Heisman Trophy winner Johnny Rodgers. We start with quarterback Jerry Tagge, and he said that Johnny Rodgers' classic punt return in the first quarter got the Cornhuskers off and running.
That really turned it around for us because we weren't moving the ball offensively. We knew they were going to score because they had a tremendous potent offense led by Jack Mildren, but we did nothing. We came out the first quarter. I don't think we had a first down in that first quarter. But Johnny's punt return really gave us a boost and gave us a little bit of confidence, because when you go into the opponent's team on their field, playing down there in that snake pit, that's a tough place to play. And if you don't start off quick, or something big happens, you could dig a hole for yourself that you can never get out of. And we were struggling, and Johnny made that just fantastic punt return, and boy, that just gave us life, and that turned it around.
Now, OU led 17-14 at the half after they scored on a pass play for a TD. What happened on defense on those last couple of big pass plays Oklahoma pulled off right before they have to take the lead?
Well, when they run the wishbone, that really forces man-to-man coverage. You can't really have a free safety. So it's man-to-man all across the field. And Jack Mildren, who played the game of it, he was probably the MVP of that game, really, in a losing effort. But he threw the ball very well that game. He's not really noted for his throwing. He's noted for his running. But what the wishbone does is the safety has to come up and play him, and they have to account for him. So what that just leaves man-to-man coverage in the backfield. And what we did we left our free safety, instead of coming up and forcing, we left him back in coverage. And he's not used to playing man-to-man coverage, and they took advantage of that. And they actually went up on us by throwing the football instead of running it.
How about that? Now, what did Coach Bob Devaney say at the half when you fell behind? You had an 11-point lead in the first half. You fall behind at the half. What was Bob Devaney telling you then?
Well, he wasn't that much worried about the score. He was. It was just making sure that, he saw that we were starting to come together. We were starting to move the ball. We were starting to figure them out a little bit on defense. I mean, they hit us with 3 or 4 big passes, which is really out of style for them. So we made a couple adjustments there, and that wasn't going to be an issue. So what we did was just keep the momentum going, because we felt we were stronger than they were, and we were starting to wear them down a little bit. And true to form, we came out in the third quarter and we got stronger. We got a little bit stronger as the game went on, and they got a little bit weaker.
Now, in the second half, you guys, as you mentioned, you came out smoking. One of the key plays was on a quarterback keeper by you, Jerry, that helped set up the go-ahead third-quarter touchdown. You sort of faked and then you ran all the way down. I think it got down to about the 2 or 3. Talk about that run.
Yeah, it was just a straight sprint option. It wasn't anything real fancy, and I faked a pitch outside, and the defensive end took the fake. So I cut up inside, and I pretty much had an open field. If I had any speed, I would have scored. But I had a wide open field, and I ran it down close to the goal line. But if I had any more speed, I could have scored. But anyway, that was a big deal, and our offensive line at that point really started taking control, and it turned into they were scoring through the air, we were scoring by running the ball, and it was just kind of the reverse of what everybody thought.
I remember Lyle Bremser's call on the next play after you took it all the way down to the 3, and Kinney barrels in there, touchdown. So Jeff Kinney scored a couple of touchdowns there. Nebraska again builds up an 11-point lead in the third quarter. Looks like you guys were headed for another touchdown, but there was a fumble right at about the Oklahoma 25. I believe it was late in the third quarter. You had a special play in mind you wanted to run during the Oklahoma game. You thought that was a good time to run it. What happened on that fumble?
Well, it was really not a well-designed play. We were faking a ball to Johnny Rodgers, and we were having a wingback come around. It was kind of like a reverse. So I was supposed to fake the handoff and bring the ball around my back, and I got it fumbled behind my back, and I got hit at the time, and I wasn't able to re-grasp the ball, and it was loose, and they fell on it because. And that was a turning point for them because we were marching in. We were feeling pretty good, and we probably would have scored if we wouldn't have fumbled on that play.
Absolutely. We're talking about the game of the century, Nebraska versus Oklahoma, 1971 Thanksgiving Day, picked by many college football experts as the greatest game ever played. The man who quarterbacked Nebraska to that victory is my guest here, Jerry Tagge. Now, OU then grabbed the lead again, 31-28 with 7 minutes left. What was going through your mind as the Sooners had overcome another 11-point deficit to take the lead?
Well, we it was pretty much all business in the huddle. I mean, nobody said anything. They were very attentive. I had total control of the huddle. We were going to run the ball all the way down the field. We had plenty of time. We didn't have to panic.
7 minutes plus.
Yeah, so it wasn't like we were forced into a 2-minute drill. We still had a lot of time on the clock. If we would have been shut down in 2 or 3 plays, we probably would have got the ball back again. But we wanted to make the best advantage that we could with the time we had. So we were really running off tackle, and the drive became very easy because outside of one pass play that we called on third down, everything was all off tackle. So we ran off left tackle, ran off right tackle, and Jeff Kinney, he just had a
shoulder pads flapping.
Marvelous game. He ran tough, and he just got stronger and stronger as the game went on, and our offensive line got stronger. And I could see they were tired. We were just a little bit stronger, I think, physically than they were.
Then came, as you have just talked about here, what's been called one of the gutsiest drives in college football history, the 74-yard patented drive. Lyle Bremser called it, the Nebraska radio announcer at the time, for the winning score. Now, a key play, and Johnny Rodgers said this was the key play in the game, was a 3rd and 8 play at about the Oklahoma 46 with about 4 or 5 minutes left to go. It's 3rd and 8, and you're sort of flushed out of the pocket, Jerry. You find Johnny Rodgers open for an 11-yard gain and a big first down at about the Oklahoma 35. Talk about that play.
That was a desperate situation because it was 3rd and, like you said, 3rd and long, and I called a pass play. I just said everybody hook up. It was 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8, something like that. And I just said everybody hook up, at 9, 10 yards down the field. We want to make sure we get the first down, and they zoned it, and I think the defensive end, I think it was Hamilton, came in and flushed me out. I was forced to scramble outside the pocket. And he flushed me out to the side that Johnny was on, and Johnny Rodgers he and I had played together for 3 years, and he found the hole between 2 linebackers, and I threw it right between them. The only place I could throw it without them knocking it down, and he anticipated that, and he went down, and he knew where I was going to throw the ball, and he knew where he had to get, and that was just experience on our part because we played together for so long. And it worked, and it wasn't a fancy play, but it was just a very big play to keep the drive alive so we could take advantage and keep it going.
Absolutely. Now, soon after, Jeff Kinney scored the winning touchdown with 1:38 left. What was said in the huddle before that winning touchdown?
Well, nothing was said. Actually, just a few minutes before that, somebody had called a timeout inadvertently. And we were down there on about the 2-yard line, and they were dead tired.
Yeah.
And we were strong, and somebody calls a timeout, and I was pretty furious at that point because we had them right where we want them. They were tired. Now this gives them a chance to recoup and get their breath and dig in a little bit. And but I came over to the sideline, and Bob said, "What are you going to call?" And as a coach, I'm just going to Kenny, off tackle left, and he said, get in there and call with authority. And I did. It was the same play I've been calling. I think I called that play either to the right or to the left probably 22 times during the game. And Jeff, again, they had great blocking, and they pushed him off the line, and the fullback lead was kick the defensive end out, and Jeff went in and scored. So, and so we were fortunate there, and that break we still, despite giving them a chance to rest, we still punched it in.
Absolutely. Now describe the feeling as Nebraska's defense had to go back on the field with about 1:38 left. Oklahoma still had a chance. That last series, there's John Harrison in the open. Jack Mildren overthrew him. Talk about what you were thinking on the sideline and what was as the defense, and then Jacobson and Glover, of course, took over.
Well, I lost my breath watching that ball, and Harrison, they just missed it. I mean, it was within inches. It's a game of inches. If they would have caught the ball, I mean, what he would have scored, I don't know, but it would have been a tremendous gain, and it would put them in a position to score. But it's like you say, it's a game of inches, and again, it's that one-on-one coverage, and I think Billy Cush was trying to keep up with him, and he's a free safety. He's not a one-on-one cover guy, and probably the only mistake we made in there, we probably should have had Joe Blaha, or one of our better cover guys, on man-to-man coverage there.
And Nebraska wins the game 35-31, one of the great wins by any program ever. Now, after that, you beat Hawaii. Then it's off to play Alabama in the Orange Bowl. Now, you led 28-0 at the half in that Orange Bowl game. Alabama was undefeated. They were number 2. Nebraska was number 1. What was Bob Devaney telling all of you at the halftime of that game when you were up 28-0? We're on our way. We're here. Just keep playing well.
I think we wanted to play more. I mean, he wanted to get a lot of guys in and play the game, and of course, the starters here, we wanted to play as much as we could, but we really had them. I mean, we had them down, and we were a far superior team, and our defense, they couldn't do anything against our defense, and our defense just shut them out totally, and so offensively, that kind of opens it up offensively, and we could do a lot of different things, and we were pretty confident, and I think we went out there and we played about the first couple of series, and then, midway through the third period, we sat down, and the second team went in, and they played very well. So it wasn't the tough game like Oklahoma was. It was we really out physicaled them. Alabama,
yeah. You win the game 38-6, win the second straight national championship. How sweet it was.
Sweet it was, and that one we really won. And we felt we were the best team going into the season that year, and Oklahoma felt they were the best season going into that season, and every week, in our last game of the regular season was that Oklahoma game, and we were beating people by 30, 40 points, and Oklahoma was beating people by 30, 40 points, and it came down to that really was the game, and after that it was they were the only one who had a chance to beat us.
Sweet year for the Big Eight, of course, in 1971. Nebraska number 1, Oklahoma number 2, Colorado number 3. Nebraska quarterback Jerry Tagge giving his take on the 1971 college football game called the Game of the Century versus Oklahoma. Nebraska's Johnny Rodgers, who would win the Heisman Trophy the next year in 1972 and who provided probably the game's most memorable play, talked about that game and the rest of the 1971 season, which included games against a lot of highly rated teams.
We just walked through the season, just beat everybody. No one was really that competitive. Colorado was a good competitive team. Actually, they came in third that year, with Oklahoma coming in second, and Nebraska was first. Missouri was always tough on us. They'd line everybody up on the line and just rush everybody, and it was really tough to beat them. But like I said, we were destined at that particular time to run through the game. But I think it really made a statement at that year that how tough the Big Eight Conference was when you have the number 1, 2, and 3 teams all come from right here from the Midwest in the Big Eight. Nebraska number 1, Oklahoma number 2, and Colorado was number 3. And Colorado had one of the fastest guys in the whole country in Cliff Branch. Missouri had the fastest one in the country, and Mel
Gray?
Mel Gray.
Wide receiver,
Mel Gray, for wide receiver. We were tough. We were just tough. And but one thing about us, I think, in playing in Oklahoma and Colorado and Missouri, these teams, the tougher they were, the better they made us be. So the more respect that we had for them, the more respect we got because of them. And we weren't looking for little games. You know, we were willing to beat the big teams and to beat them good. And it really set the stage for us to get to Oklahoma in that game of the century. And where number 1 offense was playing the number 2 defense, and the number 1 team against the number 2 team, and we actually lived up to the billing. It was really a great football game.
Absolutely, and that 1971 Nebraska-Oklahoma game played on Thanksgiving Day in Norman, Oklahoma. It's been called by many the greatest college football game ever. The first score of that game, Johnny, was of course scored by you, Johnny Rodgers, on that famous punt return. That's remembered by many as one of the most exciting plays in college football history. Now, Johnny, as Joe Wiley of Oklahoma was set to punt the ball to you, and you were standing back at the 30-yard line, and the ball began coming toward you, take us through your dramatic punt return for a touchdown.
Well, my first thought was I knew Greg was coming. Greg Pruitt and I are very good friends, and we had met each other several different times. And I knew he was going to be the first one down there no matter what. I had a reputation then for never fair catching, so he was just coming at full speed. I actually talked to him not long ago about that. He wishes he had broken down because he was the first one I was able to shake right there coming out. I really remember calling a left return because we were on the left side. I was going to call the left and then go down the sideline. But when Greg came and grabbed me, threw me to the other side, forced me to go to my right, and then I ran into a host of Oklahoma players, which pushed me back down the field. When I broke down the field, I ran into the referee, who pushed me back to my left again to get the help. I was able to get over to the sideline and get a little bit of help, and then Joe Blaha comes along and takes the last person off my back, and it's been history ever since, you know.
You bet it's been history, Johnny. It's the most loved sports moment in the state's history, and you right there ran it. Was there a clip on that play? Come on, was there a clip? No.
No, there.
Thank you.
Well, I can see Joe Blaha clearly. You can watch him in the film where he sees me coming, and he turns all the way around and comes over to the sideline and catches the guy. He's coming up the field, and the guy coming down the field. It was really no way to be a clip.
Oh, and then Larry Jacobson's right there to grab you and hug you in the end zone. And Johnny Rodgers touchdown. Of course, Lyle Bremser. He's all the way home. Johnny the Jet Rodgers. Yeah, we're going to get into him in just a little bit. Now, that game, of course, was back and forth. OU led, Nebraska led, etc. Then the last drive, the 74-yard march to the game-winning touchdown with 1:38 left. Talk about that drive.
Well, we knew that whoever had the ball last was going to win. And we were moving the ball down there pretty good, but we got a little hole there, and we had a 3rd down and 10. And so we called a play that was designed really to come to me, but I really wasn't open right away. But Tagge, the play broke down, and so Tagge made his way out and was able to get the ball to me. Our whole rule was always, if you can touch it, you can catch it. So he threw it close to the ground to make sure it really wasn't able to be intercepted, and I was able to pull it in. And that play there, singly, was the biggest football play in that particular football game. A lot of people really thought it was a punt return, but if we didn't get that 3rd down and 10, and to be able to keep the march going for Jeff to go and take it in, we really wouldn't have had the ball last, which we wouldn't have scored, and we'd had to turn the ball over.
Most people, I've heard you say that before, and most people would agree with you. That big 3rd down play was the key. Then Jeff Kinney moved the ball down, and I believe it was 3rd and goal at the 2. He stretched over and got in. Great blocking by the offensive line.
All right. We knew we had to have it, and we were trying to run the clock down. We hated to give it back to them again, but they did have the ball for a little bit of time. But
absolutely, and then you had to watch as the defense, led by Outland Trophy winners Larry Jacobson and Rich Glover, took care of the rest. Talk about what you were feeling on the sideline. Oh no, here's Jack Mildren. Now John Harrison's open, and then it's overthrown. What was your thought?
Well, they had hit us so hard going into halftime. We were leading going into halftime with a few seconds left, and they ended up taking the lead for just a few seconds. So we knew they were capable of scoring in just a moment's notice. But we also knew that they had to take care of. We had a tenacious defense that was going to keep that pressure on Jack Mildren, and Jack got a whole lot of yards because we wanted to make sure he kept that ball and ran a lot. You know, but Richie Glover also, he had more football tackles in that particular game.
22, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Than most guys have in a season.
Yeah.
So they knew we were coming, and we were in it to win it. But it was a great football team. It was a great football team, and you just can't do whatever you want to do with the team. You know, they have some things they're going to get done no matter what.